Hey, welcome back to the How to Podcast series. Glad to be with you. Excited to be here to talk all things podcasting with you and to encourage you to either start your show or continue in your podcast journey. One thing that I get asked a lot about when I get to talk to great podcasters like you is they're like, Dave, when I compare your show to the other podcasts about podcasting, they spend a lot of time on those other shows talking about tech, like microphones and boom arms and cameras and lights and recording software and tools and all these things. And why do you not do that on the How to Podcast series? Why? Because I find that extremely boring. And I skip those episodes, to be quite honest, because this endless search for the best microphone and the best this and the best that is completely boring to me. And I just tune out because once you find your setup, then just podcast and don't worry about all this fear of missing out on the next best tool thing. I was at a podcast conference and there was a table set up by a competing microphone that I don't use. And my wife's like, do you want to go talk to them? I'm like, no, got no interest in that big brand name microphone. A, because it's way too expensive for what it does. And B, I'm happy with what I have. So there's no reason to have this gear acquisition syndrome where you feel like you just got to have the next thing. Now, if that's you and you have unlimited finances, then have at it. But for me, as a guy that works and does this on my days off, I don't have money to throw around on like having 45 different types of microphones behind me that I never use and proudly bring on screen and show you, hey, look at this mic I don't use. That seems like a waste to me. So I don't talk tech on this podcast. And because podcasting is not about the tech, I have never had somebody reach out to me and go, oh my gosh, Dave, I love the How to Podcast series. What mic are you using? No. I usually get people talking about the content because the content is why I'm here, not to promote a microphone. So against my better judgment, and because I've been asked, I'm going to talk briefly in this episode as a Basics 101, a little series I'm doing on YouTube, where I'm going to compile a bunch of how-to podcast basics. These are the simple questions that most people are searching, and I'm making a little mini playlist on YouTube. I'll have a link for you in the notes if you want to go there. And as I do these basics, like the real 101, I don't know anything about podcasting episodes, I'm going to also have them there as well as a kind of a little playlist where you can just start. Because like at the time of recording this, I have over 500 plus episodes. And the whole idea of going to find something in specific, you can search, you can go to my channel and go in the search bar and type in some keywords and episodes will come up. Names of podcasters, names of podcasts, topics, keywords, that stuff shows up. But a playlist separate from the main master list of every episode just seems to make sense. So I'm going to make this little mini playlist for you. Again, link in the show notes. And as I do these How to Podcast Basics, it's going to have those in the title. The How to Podcast Basics 101 dash, and then whatever I'm talking about. That's for you. So I'm doing a How to Podcast Basics 101, your simple and complete tech startup guide for new podcasters. Again, talking microphones, I might fall asleep during the recording of this episode. If I do, please give me a gentle nudge and remind me that I'm actually recording right now. Because for me, talking microphones and tech, yeah. Anyways, I'm doing this for you because I love you and I want to help you and I want to support you and I'm here for you. And people are like, Dave, what are you using? I just want to start. Where do we start? Okay. So yeah. Okay. So let's get into this. Let's see what comes out of this. And again, I'm here for you. I want to help you with your podcast at howtopodcast.ca. Let's talk. I'd love to meet you. But But here we go. Let's dive into a topic I hardly ever talk about. And let's try to keep Dave awake during this, okay? Thanks. Here we go. So I got to get something out of the way right away. And I got to cue the link and cue the music for this. My wife loves this. I know Scarlett has mentioned she loves it when she hears this. But I got to get this little rant out of my way so we can move forward, you and I, and talk about tech in podcasting. So here we go. For my wife and for Scarlett, here's my rant. You ready? Here we go.
And now, it is time for Dave to share a most excellent rant on something that he just won't stop talking about. Please allow Dave to share his thoughts on this particular subject so that his glorious wife Jennifer may have a moment of rest from Dave going on and on and on about this topic. Here is Dave and his rant for this week.
Okay, so yes, that's my little rant thing. Okay, here we go. You can bypass this entire episode right now. I'm giving you an out. You can use your phone. You can use a free platform like Spotify for creators. You can use free editing software on a computer with Audacity. You can use a free version of Zoom. You can go to podcastforfree.com, my website, and see all my free tools. Don't cost you a penny. I don't make any money if you use any of these links because they're free. You can podcast for free and use your phone and ignore the rest of this episode. You can stop right now and just go podcast. It's true. Now, people are going to tell you it's not the best choice. And sometimes, if you don't do it the right way, if you're not sure what that means, then reach out to me. If you don't do it the right way, meaning you don't make it sound good, like good enough to listen to, then it might not work out well for you. But if you use your amazing phone, which has more technology than history has ever seen, with the cameras and the video and the audio, and you got so much right there in your pocket to go out and spend thousands of dollars to do a big setup in a studio, you don't need it. You can just use your phone. Complete stop. You're done. This episode's over for you. Okay? And you're like, well, then Dave, can you teach me? Yes. With your phone, I can teach you how to just get your podcast going as a starting point and stop with the excuses, stop with the delays, stop with the, it's not perfect yet. No, just start and use your phone and you're good. You're done. You can now stop. You can now hit stop on this episode. And if that's you and that's good enough for you, then thanks for being here. Thanks for being here listening to the How to Podcast series. Now, if you're like, okay, Dave, I have been using my phone, or I do want to set up a little mini studio in my house or my office, whatever. What are you using, Dave? And what do you recommend? And let's get into this a little bit so that we can talk about setting up a podcast the right way from the beginning without spending a buttload of money. How do we do it? What's your advice, Dave? Where do we even begin? Okay, well, like I said, I'm not a tech podcast. This is really weird to me to do this, but I know it's important and I know people have been asking. So I'm doing this for you because I want you to start. Okay, so let's jump into this. Basic podcast tech setup. To start a podcast, again, you can use your phone and bypass this whole episode, or you can continue listening. To start a podcast, you're going to need a few essential pieces of equipment if you decide not to just use your phone. The core equipment list that you're going to need is a microphone. Okay? I prefer to use what is called a USB microphone. A USB microphone plugs into your laptop, plugs into your computer. I have a desktop computer, the tower computer that's separate from my monitor, that kind of setup. And I'm plugging right in and using it directly into my computer. I don't need something that takes my microphone and translates it into computer talk, and then it's like in between the mic and the computer, this little box. You don't need that. You can just plug a USB mic or straight into your computer, laptop. You are good to go. Done. There's a bunch of different mics and things I recommend that you can try. You're going to look at a microphone that's roughly between, I don't know, say $40 to $100 US American dollars. And the microphone that I use is about a $50 microphone and about $80 Canadian. And it's, I bought two and they're great. I've used it for over 1,500 episodes. And it's the only mic I've had for 5 years. It's on a microphone stand, which is like what you would see a singer have on stage, that they take their microphone off and they move the stand to the side, or they spin the stand around. Yeah, it's that. It's like a $10 microphone stand that I got from my local music shop or Amazon, whatever. That's it. And I have a stand because I want it off of my desk. My desk has all this other stuff like my coffee and stuff on the desk. And I don't want my microphone attached to my desk. If I tap my desk, I don't want it to go through the mic. So like a $50 mic, US, $50. It's not a big fancy brand name. I'll put a link in the show notes. And again, I have like a pop filter on it, which just kind of covers the mic so that when I say my plosives, which are my P's, my B's, and all that stuff, it diffuses it and takes it away. I've listened to podcast experts who teach podcasting who don't even know how to use a pop filter. And when they say a P or a B, like podcast, it's like, oh, it just right through you. It's just terrible. So get something that kind of redirects your voice and those plosives out of the mic. That really helps. So a microphone is very important. What I would suggest is to not use the built-in mic in your laptop or your computer, or I'm not a big, huge fan of headsets with a little microphone that kind of comes down in front of your mouth like you're working at Wendy's, only because it can be a little harsh sometimes and a little bit more work for you to make it sound better after the fact. If that's all you have, great. Then just make sure it's not like touching your lips and it's kind of off a little bit from your mouth, again, to help you avoid some of those loud, harsh sounds that can come through in those headset mics. I've seen people use them and they work really well for some people, and I've seen some people who really struggle with them. If you're going to use a headset mic, make sure you practice with it and make sure it sounds good before you get too deep into recording multiple episodes and go, oh, this isn't that great. That's my only caution for you. Microphone, USB, really works well. You can go with other types of mics, but you make it more complicated than it needs to be. USB mic, $50, $40, $100, depends on your budget. That's what I would suggest as a starting point. Number 2, you need a computer or some way to capture your voice in the recording. Again, you can use your phone or you can use your laptop and your computer. So I'm using my desktop and I'm using Audacity right now. My computer is my computer I've had for 10 plus years, and Audacity is free. So that's kind of my investment there. And that's all I use for all of my episodes. When I do a solo episode, I'm recording directly onto my computer into Audacity. Never failed me, always works. It has been around forever. I've been using Audacity as an audio option for me as I do music editing for myself and for others. It is amazing, and it's bulletproof, and I love it. And everybody who puts it down should just go away for a while. It's great. I love it. So use something that works. Audacity is free. Again, if you go to podcastforfree.com, you'll find links to everything I'm talking about. And then the third part of your core equipment, you need your microphone, you need a way to record yourself, computer or whatever, the third part is headphones. And I would suggest you use wired headphones. A, because they're cheaper, and B, because you don't have to worry about Bluetooth and your thing disconnecting and all that stuff. I use earphones that go over my ears and cover my ears, and it works fine. Plugs directly into my computer with a cord, and everything works great. It's nice because it helps you to keep the sound of your voice from coming out of your speakers, which are attached to your computer or laptop, and then that sound going back into the mic, which creates a loop, which creates feedback, which is a bad thing. And unless you're Jimi Hendrix, you don't need feedback in your podcast. Okay, so you need a microphone, a computer, and headphones. Core equipment. Let's move on. Okay, here's some optional but recommended extras to consider in addition to your core things. Your pop filter I mentioned. That's that little, it looks like a round disc that kind of goes over the mic, so you can't really see the mic because the disc is in the way. It's about the size of a small little personal pizza, about that size. And again, it just kind of deflects your harsh sounds from going directly into the mic. Again, I think I paid maybe $10 for that. And again, you only need to buy it once. And it kind of looks like nylons, I think. Sort of like that, yeah. Definitely a pop filter, a microphone stand, which I talked about, or a boom arm if you're okay with having your mic attached to your desk, which I don't. And if you're going to use a fancy mic, other than the one I'm recommending, then you're going to need something called an audio interface. And all that is simply is something that takes microphone talk and turns it into computer talk. That's all it is. It goes in between. The cord goes from your mic to the audio interface, from the audio interface into your computer. Not necessary if you buy a USB mic, so don't bother with any of that. If you're just going to go easy peasy USB mic, move on. Let's keep going. One of the other biggest, most important things about setting up your studio for the first time is to consider your recording space. Where are you recording? Are you recording in your bathroom, sitting in the tub? And when you talk, your voice bounces all over the room. Sounds great if you're trying to be Ariana Grande in the shower, but when you're trying to record a podcast, those bouncing sounds, that reverb, that echoey sound in that room, not a great idea. Really not a great idea. You want to be somewhere with soft surfaces, carpet, towels, blankets, pillows. People like to record in their closet, which is really inconvenient, especially when somebody's trying to put away the laundry. There's a lot of different places you can do it, but you want to go with the softest surfaces possible. And then just practice, test, see what it sounds like when you hit record. Before you start doing it real time in front of a real person or a real episode, just practice. Just practice. That's it. That's all you have to do. Pick soft, quiet places without distractions. Make sure the dogs aren't barking. Your cat's not meowing at you. The phone's not ringing. Your phone's on silent. All of that stuff. Okay? Use any kind of sound absorbing material. And basically that's just anything soft and fluffy will help your sound better for your podcast. Some budget friendly approach to your podcast. Let's talk numbers real quick. You do not have to spend, again, a buttload of money to be a podcaster. Like I said at the beginning, you could have stopped when you heard me say, just use your phone. But you can spend some money if you want to. And here's some suggestions for you. On a tight budget, I would suggest you use, again, the USB mic. The mic I use is in the show notes. It's about $50 American, $80 Canadian. Everything's more in Canada. Your free audio software, which we talked about, and your existing computer and your basic headphones. That's your budget-friendly approach to podcasting. The key is to start and simply upgrade your equipment as your podcast grows. So run down before we leave. What am I using? I'm using a desktop computer. Again, that's that separate box beside my monitor. I've had this box forever, and it still works. Knock on wood. And I'm happy with it. It does its thing. I have a mic that I bought for $50 on Amazon. It's a USB mic, plugs directly into my computer, nothing else required, and a $10 or $15 mic stand like you'd see on any band, on any stage. My mic is in there, and I have a pop filter for about $10. That and my headphones, about $15 for my headphones. I have the internet and power. I have electricity. That's about it. And I have the beautiful thing about my setup is it's always the same. I just come down, turn the lights on, turn on the power, hit record, and it's the same as last time. So if you can, try to carve out a spot in your home where you can just set up permanently, and then you don't have to set up and tear down every time. That's a pain in the butt. And you'll probably stop podcasting if you have to do that on a regular basis. So if you can carve out a spot where you can podcast and do it the same way every time, every episode's going to sound the same. Some episodes won't sound like you're in a hallway, and some won't sound like you're in a studio. It'll always be the same. So that's my little tip, and I'd love to hear your thoughts. And you can always respond in the comments on YouTube on your setup, what you're using, your choice of mic, and all that stuff. Then other people can see other options. But again, I'm trying to go with the bare basics. Very simple. That's why it's called the How to Podcast Basics 101. This is how to get your complete tech setup for your new podcast. Again, remember, use what you have. And again, goes back to Theodore Roosevelt's quote, do what you can with what you have where you are. That's the key to starting a podcast. And that's the key to tech. That's the key to content. That's the key to starting. Do what you can with what you have where you are. You can always improve later, but waiting to spend thousands of dollars on a new hobby that may or may not turn into something you want to pursue is a waste of your time and your money. Do what you have with what you have. That's it. That's it. You're good to go. If you have any questions about starting your podcast, launching your podcast, if you need somebody in your corner to cheer you on, keep you accountable, because some people say they're going to start and they just keep delaying it and delaying it and delaying it. It's like, will you ever podcast? Then if you need somebody like that to be in your corner, give you a little butt kick once in a while and go, hey, how's it going with your show? Ooh, I would love to do that for you. In love and appreciation for who you are and your message. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for listening. Thanks for being here. More great episodes coming. And again, make sure you go to that playlist on YouTube. This will be one of the first episodes in that playlist around the How to Podcast Basics 101. And there'll be more coming. Thanks for listening. We'll talk soon. Hey, thanks for listening to the podcast. Thank you for being here. Now, we're doing all these 101 type episodes, and we're going to keep adding to them. So if you go to YouTube, you go to our channel on YouTube, there's a playlist where we've compiled all the 101 basic information about starting a podcast in one playlist. Makes it super easy for you to just kind of go through the basics. There's over 500 plus episodes right now as of recording, so there's a lot here. And we just kind of want to distill it down to the basics for you. So head over to YouTube if you want to see the basics compiled together in a list. That's for you. Now, as you are in this journey of starting a podcast, you are going to come across so many voices in podcasting. Some are great, some are not so great. Some will take a lot of your money, some will do it for free, like me. I would love to help you launch your show. Okay? People are going to charge you thousands of dollars just to get your show on Apple and Spotify and YouTube and Audible. That's ridiculous. Don't fall for that. Come and work with me. Let's do this together. All my information is always at howtopodcast.ca. I would love to help you launch your show in a way that you will continue podcasting after the 3, 5, 7, 10 episodes where most people stop. My goal and my commitment to you is to help you keep podcasting longer and love every single minute of creating a podcast and being a podcaster. That's my commitment to you over at howtopodcast.ca. I want to help you launch your show. And I'm here for you, and I'd love to meet you. howtopodcast.ca. Thanks for listening.